Greetings folks, I am Toothache and welcome to my Path of Radiance draft playthrough. Playing this on hard mode, as you'll see in a moment. Start a new game here. Difficult, which is the hardest difficulty. Random mode for the stats. I don't like playing around with fixed mode, it just seems like too much of a fiddle to get all the stats in the appropriate order. Anyway, first thing to do there is turn the animations off so it speeds up the gameplay. Also should have turned the text speed to max, but I wasn't really thinking clearly. Anyway, the prologue is basically a very fixed, tutorial essentially. First turn is basically spent taking out Boyd and getting the vulnerary, and then using it on the second turn. And then the next two turns are basically taking out Grail. As you can see, Ike takes 3 hits to kill Grail, and Grail could kill him in 3 hits in return. Or 4 at full health, but only you need to use a single vulnerary. And then you can take him out like that, no problem. With a random mode you can basically reset until you get like super exceptional stats or anything. I didn't go that far, I just wanted to make sure I got at least strength and speed, and a few extras never hurt. So that's the end of that chapter. Chapter 1 is the first main storyline chapter proper. I actually make a mistake here. I could have had Ike visit the village and then have Oscar pick him up, and I would have got the steel sword out of it, although really I don't really find much use for it, to be fair. Anyway, having Oscar, who I've drafted, pick up Ike and then have Titania drop him, fiddle around for a moment to decide where I'm going to move her, allows me to clear this chapter in 2 turns. Without Oscar, it takes 3, basically, because I could only move so far. So I have Boyd moves out the way since I haven't drafted him, and he, if he gets into combat, that's a 4-turn penalty of the draft, so obviously you don't want to do that. Anyway, I got this on the first attempt. The only thing is to make sure that both Ike and Oscar survive, but that's pretty easy for the most part, actually. To go through this very long combat, unfortunately, watching all these enemies kind of charge up. This drop point is perfect because it allows Oscar and Ike to get around. In fact, the better position actually would have been to stop Titania in between Ike and Oscar, because then I wouldn't have needed a critical hit for Oscar to go and get the Seraph Robe. But obviously I wasn't thinking clearly because I made a couple of tactical errors, but was still able to clear this in 2 turns. So take on the boss here, Zawana. Zawana die? Yeah you do, you do, yeah you do. So yeah, that's in the end of him. And yeah, still getting used to this, this game. I haven't played it in a while, so just remembering to not to move too far and, select weight at the end of things. Anyway, Seraph Robe acts like the Angelic Robe in the GBA games, gives you max of 7 hit points. So yeah, that's the 2-turn clear of this chapter. And then on to chapter 2. This one is cleared in 4 turns and it requires a little bit of strategy, but it's not too bad really once you know what you're doing. Having Oscar helps immensely really in routing this chapter, because the idea is basically to kill all the enemies, which takes some time. So yeah, I have Ike charge forward because he's got weapon advantage with his swords and he can dodge most of the attacks, which is very appropriate. Oscar can go up to the north here and take on these 3 enemies here, And with his exceptional movements, we'll be able to move back and help Ike clear up the rest of the enemies around his little corner. So that's that. And then Titania appears at the start of turn 3. And she can basically reach the boss in 2 turns. So that allows for the 4-turn clear. So yeah, half decent level up there. Don't get strength, but I do get speed, so it's not too bad. And a bit of luck as well. So I don't even have to use a vulnerary here, which is good. Oscar doesn't need to dodge any of the axe attacks here. He's got enough defense to survive getting hit by everything, even the mercenary there, so everything's all good. Does get hit here, but it's not too bad, like I say. Don't think he has a vulnerary at this point, but I think he gets one from the merc, so it's all good. Anyway, just for a bit of extra defense, I can move into the bushes there. This is also good positioning for getting Oscar in. Right. Select the mercenary's movement so I can be sure how to move Oscar as far back as possible. And he gets a very nice level up, which doesn't include strength again, unfortunately. So, and then I allow Oscar to move as far as possible, which will get the merc on the enemy phase. I can weaken this bandit here and the one coming from above. And if you can see it already, you'll see what I'm going to do with Oscar next. There he gets his vulnerary. Now that I've moved him a lot closer, he can actually reach the bandits in the north. I can kill the one in the south. And Titania can kill the one that's just appeared. In fact, she doesn't have to kill this one at all, because this bandit tends to ignore Titania, goes around and tries to attack Ike or Oscar, whichever he can reach. But I figured I'd rather just get him out of the way, and there'll be plenty of opportunities for those two to get experience later on, so it's all good. Using the steel axe to make sure I get her axe rank up very quickly. It's not really necessary, but could have used the iron axes more if I could, if, you know. It would have been a little easier on my weapon uses, but she gets plenty of it anyway. And this guy also drops a steel axe, so she's not going to run out for some time. Which is good because she's going to be the main boss killer for, well, the first half dozen or so chapters at the very least. Anyway, the rest of this turn is just basically Titania cleaning up the rest of these enemies here, as she can do with the steel axe. She can even one-shot this mercenary here. I had a previous attempt at this where everything worked up until the end, and then she had a double miss on that merc, which was just unfortunate. Had much better level ups as well, which is you just hate when that happens. So anyway, the boss here. This is where I realised that I need to set the text speed to max so I can just skip through them a lot quicker. Anyway, she can take this guy down in 2 turns, which is why the steel sword is needed. And that's the end of that. Chapter 2 completed in 4 turns, and I collect the speed wings right at the end. So that's all good. And that's that.